So Four Knights of the Apocalypse, chapter 60, titled Leonis in Flames, very aptly titled, especially with how this chapter goes out, begins where we left off last week with Percival encountering Pellegarde and the reveal that Pellegarde is the traveler that was fighting against Peleo. And I like how this little interaction was just, Peleo was wondering, wait, you know this guy? Well, stay out of this, kid, blah, blah, blah. And Pellegarde just straight up says that Percival is one of the four knights, and Peleo is shocked that it's a little kid. Then Peleo is asking, wait, how do you know it? This makes you even more suspicious. As Donnie comes in, grabbing Percival to pull him back, stating that he's Pellegarde the Black Knight, and he's after Percival's life. As the rest of the knights put two and two together, that he is a Knight of Chaos. And they're amazed that Pellegarde just straight up walked into enemy territory. But Pellegarde's like, look, let me warn you. Don't try to stop me by yourself for glory or whatnot. But Peleo and with the rest of the Holy Knights, before I get into this one page, I was like, in the far right, is that one of the members of the Weird Fangs? I just noticed that. That's honestly really cool that a previous, I mean, he doesn't get any speaking rules, but that's just nice that he's in the background. But yeah, but Peleo just states, don't worry, we're not in this for honor or glory. And just as the group is amazed that more Holy Knights showed up, Pellegarde turns around and walks towards the table where he left his gear, puts on his cape, and then all of a sudden, his armor appears out of nowhere as he says, well then, I'll push my way through by force. I will achieve my goals, as he slams his shield onto the ground ready for battle. Now, with the knights evacuating the citizens, Percival goes up and basically tells Peleo that he'll lend a hand, but Peleo says, don't worry about it, you'll leave. Don't blame me for it. As Holy Knights, it's our job to protect the Four of Prophecy, as he gets ready to attack Pellegarde. And just like that, we get an image of the rain, and someone in shadow walking towards a ledge where Isolde is, as she's crying over her overreaction when she met up with Tristan again after the whole incident with Percival. And yeah, she's just sulking about how she just left Tristan and that there's no way she can be with him, blah, blah, blah. But then all of a sudden, this shadowy figure asks what's wrong and asks if they could join her. As Isolde says, just leave me alone, they appear next to him and just says, I can't leave a woman in tears alone. Just as Isolde is trying to get this person to move away, they then say, please don't say anything so sad. Tears are ill-fitting for someone of your lovely looks. And I love how Isolde actually does have some insecurities, that the fact that she's over 6 feet tall and she's nothing good except for feats of strength, and that she's poorly suited for a man apparently. Particularly Tristan, because Tristan's a lot shorter, I guess, than she is. But then the shadowy figure grabs onto Isolde, says, I envy that man if you think so much of him. To me, you are more lovely than anything. As the shadowy figure literally grabs Isolde by the hip, apparently, making her blush. As the shadowy figure says, no need to give time to small-minded men who chide you for your height. Join me and let's discuss love together. And I like how in this last panel of this page, we actually get to see a very faded silhouette of this character in the background. But I like how Isolde's like, I'm not just gonna fly into another man's arms. It's all for Tristan's sake, as she then notices what's going on in the town as people are fleeing from the Eastern Gate, as we then get the battle between Peleo and the rest of the Holy Knights as they face off against Pellegarde. I have to say, these next 2 pages of action panels is actually really nice. It shows just how quick and efficient these knights are taking on this character, and how Pellegarde, despite taking a few blows, is very formidable in his own right against all these Leonis knights. And apparently, Peleo managed to land a small scratch on Pellegarde, as he says, got you now. And Pellegarde notices something, how is this little cut getting me? And all of a sudden, he drops his weapon. And he's like, wait, what? And he seemingly struggles to turn his neck, as apparently he's like wondering, what's going on? I meant to lift my weapon up, but I dropped it on the ground. I tried to turn my head right, but it went left. As Pellegarde reveals that it is his magical ability, Perversiveness. As under this magic, just by landing a hit, now his opponent will do the opposite of what they intend to do. So that's something really, really cool. This actually reminds me of Shinji's ability from Bleach, with how his Sanpakto literally warps and changes the perception of people, and they literally do the exact opposite of what they mean to do. So this is actually a really nice ability, and it's very fearsome as well, as this could really mess with someone as they want to do something, but they then end up doing the exact opposite, and Pellegarde is seemingly struggling. So while it doesn't seem like Peleo is physically superior to Pellegarde, his magical ability seems to be turning the tide in the knight's favor. But then Pellegarde unleashes a huge blast of his blaze magical power, knocking the rest of the knights back. As he says, I will crush you using nothing but my magic. As we then see this big blazing ball As it exploded, it launches a bunch of debris up, flaming, going all over the place, and it heads towards Isolde's location. Basically tries to brace for the impact. This shadowy figure says, "Wonderful, such a fine mood we had going, and it's ruined," as they lift their finger with a tiny ball of energy as the debris shatters in place with a big explosion. As Isolde asks, "Who are you?" With the final page revealing that it is Gawain, the fourth knight of the apocalypse, as she says, "I am the master of the sun, Gawain." Chapter 61, the fourth arrives. And this starts off basically directly after last week's ending page, with Gawain introducing herself as the master of the sun, and we get her actual full color scheme, which I like it. It's honestly really nice, and we also get a nice little color spread of the four knights on one side and the 7 deadly sins on the other, showing the next generation and the previous generation. It's just nice. It's nice. I like seeing the designs of all the 7 sins, because this is also something for like the 10th anniversary of the series, which I am excited for. I might do something for the official 10th anniversary that's in October for the manga, but we'll see how that goes. But anyway, chapter starts off with Meliodas seeing the commotion going on at the gate towards the east, and it seems like he's getting ready to move into action. Cutting back to Pellegarde unleashing a mass amount of his blaze magic, Percival manages to save everyone within his Percival bubbles and golems to help to protect them from Pellegarde's heat. And I like how Pellegarde just states the Holy Knight's creed. States like, "You think I'm the evil one in this situation." And Percival just says he doesn't hate Pellegarde or anything, but if he's with King Arthur and his dad, then he's the enemy. And Pellegarde's honestly kind of like, well, okay, you don't hate me, that's a good start, but whatever. And I like how Pellegarde was trying to tell him that despite him being a knight or not, Pellegarde's magical power is still greater than his. He has no idea how strong he is. And Pellegarde just reestablishes that he is going to take Percival back by force as planned, since he isn't a knight of the apocalypse. Percival rushes towards him with his enchanted sword to try and land a hit, but Pellegarde launches an immortal fire attack at Percival, as Percival manages to slash it away with his sword. But, like back in their first encounter, this fireball just bursts into multiple different fireballs swirling about. These are essentially homing attacks as they continue to head towards Percival, and he tries to dodge and slash away at them as much as he possibly can. And slashing attacks don't only work against these fireballs, making it incredibly difficult for Percival to evade them. Anne wants to go out and help, but Donnie's telling her no, because she basically be roasted alive out there with all this fire. She has no chance surviving this like Percival does, since he has a high healing factor and his magic can protect them. Then Percival gets a really funny creative idea. He makes a giant Percival golem to suck up all of the fireballs that can be contained in there, and Pellegarde is impressed by this and tries something else. He raises the temperature of the fireballs, causing the Percival golem to explode from the inside out, his brilliant hellfire, and it just burned away Percival's magic in that instance. And the rest of the Holy Knights are wondering how they could even defeat him, and Percival just stating, "I'm still too weak to beat this guy." And in that instance, as Pellegarde is telling Percival, "Don't feel down. The fact is that there's a strong difference between our powers and you just need more time to mature." And once again asks to join him, but then Gawain just walks up, points her finger at the giant fireball, and just completely destroys it, much to everyone's shock. She just snuffed it out with no problems whatsoever. As she basically, with her prideful demeanor, just says, "How rude, you sniveling little fire eater." I like it that she basically just more or less insulted Pellegarde in this one instance. And he tries to engulf her in his flames, but Gawain uses her powers to just blast Pellegarde back with like no effort whatsoever. Now this doesn't hurt him, but it just pushes him back to his surprise. Like, this is stronger than my flames? How is this possible? And it's confirmed that this magic is 100% golden, as we get to see little sparks around Gawain. As she is glowing in her magical power, she states, "How dare you interrupt someone's romance? This is what you get for ruining the lovely atmosphere," basically alluding back to her and Isolde's moment back in the previous chapter, which is hilarious and pretty much confirmed that she is into girls. Percival, noticing the golden magic, he runs up to her and asks, "Are you Gawain?" And she's like, "Oh, how'd you know that?" And they're wondering, and there's something like, "Oh, so the final knight was a woman?" And Donnie's just ogling her for the fact that she is just so cool and strong. Tristan is flying overhead and notices the magic, swoops down and confronts Gawain, basically scolding her for leaving the castle after he specifically told her to wait there. But she's like, I don't really take orders, which is I find kind of funny. I feel like this dynamic of the group is just going to be just chaotic and frantic, more so than the sins, because despite their personalities being entirely different in the 7 deadly sins, Meliodas as the captain, he managed to wrangle them all together out of mutual respect. I feel like this is, since this group is forming, we're essentially going to get the formation of an actual group bond, and respect for a potential leader, if there is a leader. Then Tristan looks towards Pellegarde, noticing that his rage, as Percival just states that he is one of Arthur's knights. And Tristan says, you haven't learned your lesson yet. As both his eyes turn into his goddess eye and his demon eye, as he is getting serious. Now, everyone's thought, essentially, Tristan only had access to his goddess powers, his holy powers, and perhaps that his demonic powers was his opposite half. But from the looks of it, Tristan just wasn't going all out using both at the same time. So I'm honestly very curious to see how this initial fight plays out. But yeah, Tristan gets serious, is essentially turning on his goddess and demon powers. Gawain is impressed, and Pellegarde notices that he has demon and goddess magic, seeing that he's the boy with holy and dark power in his eyes. As we then see Sin at the top of a house being like, you better get out of here, man. You're way outclassed here. As he jumps off the roof, spins around, and transforms back into Lancelot. Now, I'm glad that Lancelot's probably still going to turn into Sin whenever he needs to get somewhere quick and to sneak around, which is honestly really nice. And even Gawain's like, well, that's a really nice trick. And Pellegarde talks about how he saw him in the Entangled Forest and realized that he has some kind of strange mystic spirit power. And then he's wondering, like, it can't be. And Percival's group just realized that this is basically the whole group coming together. The whole gang is finally united. An enigmatic shapeshifter of a boy, a child with wing-like green hair, a prince with eyes of holiness and evil, and a woman with golden magic. As he just starts laughing hysterically that he's quivering with excitement to face this quartet of fate, the ones that will bring forth disaster in a prophecy and topple Camelot that Arthur built. The four knights of the apocalypse, ending the chapter with a 2-page spread of the four knights just standing valiantly in front of Pellegarde's way, getting ready to basically take him on, as we get him just shouting that they are the four knights, with all of them having a panel of how serious they look, ending the chapter. So chapter 62 of the Four Knights of the Apocalypse, titled The Start of a New Legend. And I like that this starts off right off where last week came off, with Pellegarde literally calling everyone the Four Knights of the Apocalypse, but Gawain looking over is just wondering, wait, these are the prophesized knights? As Donnie and Anna just encouraging them to just try and kick Pellegarde's ass. Pellegarde is asking what they're going to do now, and Lancelot is actually saying, look man, if you're gonna run, it's best to just go ahead and do it now, much to the shock of the Holy Knights and Tristan just laying it in on him, just saying, you're just gonna let an enemy flee like that? We have to take him prisoner right here, right now. But Lancelot's just like, look, what does it matter? He's looking for a fight, he's not looking to kill anybody. And yeah, he's an enemy either way is Tristan's argument, and he even asks Gawain what she thinks of just letting the enemy go, and how much of a travesty it would be. And Gawain says just straight up kill the guy. He has to pay for calling me a little girl. Truly he deserves to die 1,000 deaths. Kind of shocking Tristan in the fact that he's like, you don't have to go that far. And yeah, Lancelot just saying, well, trouble's brewing. Well, Percival just goes off and walks towards Pellegarde. And as Pellegarde's wondering, well, what are you going to do? You ready to fight me now that you got your allies with you? And Percival just straight up tells him, in the end, I don't want to fight you. I just can't hate you the way I hate my dad or King Arthur. Now, a lot of people are saying that this is Percival being like a textbook shonen protagonist, good boy, being like, I don't want to fight you, I can't hate you. But in the grand scheme of things, it kind of makes sense. Pellegarde wasn't out to kill anybody from the get-go. He didn't do any atrocious things that we know of, and he's just been an overall like jovial guy. Hell, in their fight, he literally just basically somewhat taught Percival about his magical power, and even was the one that categorized it. And he was just, the guy just straight up, he's like a Saiyan in the sense that he likes a good fight. And Percival can tell that he just doesn't want to attack or hurt anybody. Pellegarde is an enemy knight. He literally could have just straight up used his blaze powers to just cause a scene and draw everyone in, but no, he decided to go to a more covert route and, give off a killer intent to like draw Knight's ear near him, just so he can have a fight and potentially find Percival. And Percival's goal, as he wants to make him his apprentice. So yeah, it kind of makes a whole lot of sense why Percival doesn't want to like full on fight him anymore, or at least right now. And he doesn't hate him like he did with Ironside. I mean, Ironside literally killed Percival in a very brutal way at the very beginning of the story, and was literally out to kill an entire town for ambiguous reasons, potentially to take down the Kingdom of Leonis. And King Arthur is, well, the leader behind all of it. So it makes sense why he'd hate those two the most. but not Pellegarde. Pellegarde hasn't done anything in his eyes that has done anything. And to us, the readers, he is, well, Arthur's knight, but he hasn't done anything to deserve any real hatred. We get a still panel of Pellegarde, as everyone's just wondering what's going on. What's he talking about? Pellegarde says nothing, and Percival just keeps talking like, you might laugh and say, I know nothing about you, but I can tell you're not a bad guy. That's the same with a lot of us readers. I mean, we do like Pellegarde. He's like a fun character. And even Percival's like, is that strange of me to say? He's really just asking, you want me to sever ties with my master and join your side? He pats Percival on the head, and Percival just says, yeah. It's a nice small panel of his friend being like, wait, is Pellegarde for real? But he didn't, almost like he's out, Percival is making him waver, but Pellegarde just grabs Percival and is like, forgive me. Unfortunately, that will not ever be the case, as he grabs a shield and rides it away with Percival in tow. Basically kidnapping Percival. Percival's not fighting back right now, but yeah, he makes his grand escape by taking Percival, which is his goal the entire time. His mace follows him, and Tristan decides to, book it to try and catch him, as Pellegarde just throws a spell bead containing Perfect Cube, trapping the knights in Perfect Cube. With everyone wondering what they're going to do with it since he's taking away Percival. I want to just say one thing. I really hope that Percival's group doesn't fall towards the back seats in the story now the four knights are together. I mean, they're title characters and I want more of them together. But with all the build-up we had in the last 50 chapters for Percival's main group and gathering his whole crew, I want them to still play a much bigger role in the story, and I want them to grow stronger. Maybe not at the level of the four knights, but I want them to be a bit more active in the story from this point onwards, as they have been as of this moment. Which, I see that happening. But yeah, Percival is being dragged away by Pellegarde, saying that how he tricked them, and Percival's like, when did I trick you? But Pellegarde's like, I understood you. I knew just how much of a pushover you actually are, and that's what he likes about him. As Percival just keeps saying like, come on, let me go, as it's a small comedic scene. When we cut back to the main group, Tristan's just freaking out. He has no chill whatsoever, which complete contrast to Meliodas, who most of the time has a pretty cool demeanor and tries to think things through. Tristan's just like, what are we gonna do? We can't get out of this. And is even questioning Lancelot, why didn't he attack him with his magic? And Lancelot's just like, well, I would have taken out Percival too. Is that what you wanted? But Lancelot says a very interesting line. And, not says it, he kind of thinks it. He's like, it's weird. For a second there, it was almost like Percival was making Pellegarde waver in his convictions. And it goes back to what he said earlier when he says, I'm sorry, I'm afraid that will never be the case. Meaning that Pellegarde, he probably would have left King Arthur. He doesn't seem like a guy that would be all up in arms with the Chaos Knights, but something is keeping him tethered to King Arthur, whether it be a vow of chaos or whatever, or maybe his own goal. It could be similar to Ardberg from the Demon Village arc, where he wanted his daughter to come back to life, or Arthur promised to bring back his loved one. So perhaps Pellegarde is a similar way. But anyway, as the Holy Knights are getting ready to find someone to break Perfect Cube, Gawain knocks on it, says a enchantment that we can't hear, the words are scribbled out, and then Perfect Cube becomes undone. Tristan wondering what's going on, but he just I forget this, we gotta go get Percival, as he zooms towards Pellegarde. And Lancelot confronts Gawain being like, you used absolute cancel just now, didn't you? Who the hell are you? As Gawain doesn't even pay Lancelot any mind, stating, heed my will, sacred sword, Leda. Okay, so I'll get back into that for a second, as Gawain after that seems to chant another spell and seemingly teleports away to, well, we're going to see her in a few seconds. But Tristan manages to catch up to Pellegarde. Is like, really? He notices Tristan, but he also notices something else in front of him flying towards him. A big blade is hurtling towards him as Gawain appears right behind Pellegarde and is ready to kill him right off the bat.
Red flag.
I like this panel because it shows Gawain just teleported to where the sword is going to be, grabs it, and is about to strike. And Pellegarde's like, wait, where did you come from? And Gawain was like, I believe I told you I would kill you. And he's like, and Pellegarde is just questioning, wait, you do this even though it would kill Percival along with me? And Gawain gives off the most sinister look, saying what do I care?
Is that also a red flag?
Crimson.
As Gawain just goes and slashes into Pellegarde as he throws Percival away. From that slash, Percival would have been killed in that instance. I mean, Percival probably would have gotten revived with the power of his hope powers, similar to Ironside. But Pellegarde literally threw Percival away so that he wouldn't die. And it seems like a very big gash in Pellegarde, as he seems to be fairly injured. And Gawain is getting ready to fully end Pellegarde right here and now. And Percival is telling her to stop as he activates his hope powers, punches Gawain out of the way, with Gawain giving off an even more sinister look towards Percival as the chapter ends. So chapter 63, titled Taming a Wild Horse. I like that Nakaba used Percival trying to ride Sylvain as a type of metaphor for this chapter. Kind of makes sense. But anyway, this chapter is right where we left off last week, with Percival and Gawain getting ready to get out, as Gawain landed a very strong hit on Pellegarde as he just tossed Percival to the side. And I like how we can see Tristan in the background on his way, about to catch up. Percival flies down to catch Pellegarde, and he manages to land him safely on the ground. Pellegarde's wondering why he aided an enemy, and Percival just asked him the same thing. You kind of covered for me back there. Aren't you kind of weird too? You're one to talk. I like that the little exchange was kind of funny and somewhat wholesome, because Pellegarde literally just said that he cares about Percival, and if it's strange from to protect someone that he cares about. And they're both kind of weird people in any regard, and Pellegarde is hurt, but isn't like badly hurt. Gawain lands in front of Percival and kicks him in the gut, saying that I am descended from a mighty king. Defying me is like trying to defy heaven. And you can see how much pain Percival's in, as her boot is literally digging into his chest, and she slaps him to the ground as Tristan comes in and catches Percival, telling Gawain that it is enough. She's trying to get Tristan out of the way, as Percival attacked him right when she was trying to dispatch an enemy. Tristan's saying that she was going to slash Percival along with Pellegarde regardless, so she just stated, well, don't sweat the minor details. She says that Tristan sweats the minor details more than she thought, and it's a little tiresome, as she asks him to move politely. But Tristan's trying to tell her that this is enough. Percival is a knight of prophecy, just like the two of them. Hurting friends like this is just wrong. But Gawain looks down at him, saying that this is what irks me the most. Putting me in the same company as you or that child is humiliating. Really quick, this panel of Gawain looking down into Tristan's eyes, it's a nice parallel and callback to Meliodas and Escanor's encounter a while ago in the Ten Commandments arc. We had the Meliodas versus Escanor fight in the manga. We're not touching the anime here. And I just like this little callback, because it's literally like just the child of Meliodas is staring up at, presumably from theories, the child of Escanor, or someone that has inherited Escanor's powers from the looks of it. So that's like a nice little callback, and I like that. But yeah, Gawain goes on to say that friends are nothing more than the weak cuddling together. She has a bit of a maniacal smile, saying that there is only those stronger than her can give her orders, and that she is perfect in every way, so no one can do it. And if Tristan disagrees, then he has to fight her and prove that he is stronger. And even taunts him, saying that our swords just for show. Tristan clenches his fists and says that his blades will never be pointed at his own allies. Gawain just slaps Tristan out of the way, casually knocking him back, as Percival is literally confronting Gawain again, saying just how brave Tristan is, and how he helped his friends, and how nice of a guy he is. And now she made Percival mad. He's really trying to find the word to describe what Gawain is like, as Tristan's telling him, don't anger her any more than you already have, as she smirks, getting ready to take a punch from Percival or counter it, as he just straight up calls Gawain a wild horse. We get a panel that just says whack, as it shows Gawain was about to hit Percival, but Pellegarde managed to block it, saying, I will tame her. As, yeah, Pellegarde is hurt, but Pellegarde says, don't worry, this is just a handicap for me. And Pelleo's magic has worn off as of right now, so he's gonna be fine. Gawain ignites herself with her blazing magical fire, saying how worthless Pellegarde is, and that he just signed his own death warrant, pushing everybody back. But just as Tristan grabs Percival away, as he's telling Gawain to stop, Gawain is basically taunting Pellegarde even more, saying that it is going to be roasted within his armor. But then Pellegarde hits Gawain in the gut with his mace and knocks her back, seemingly unaffected by her power. And he just says, don't berate me, as she jumps over and is getting ready to attack Pellegarde multiple times. And I just like this panel. It's really cool that she's just straight up attacking Pellegarde multiple times. And the dust settles, and we keep seeing the clash over and over. As Percival's like, wait, he's taking the attack? And Tristan's saying no. He's parrying every single one of Gawain's blows. And Tristan's thinking, foe or not, he is incredible. Gawain attacks with fearsome force and speed, only at first glance. But when you look closer, and this is said by Pellegarde, Gawain's moves are really, really basic. He's never going to beat her as he continues to parry her attacks as he knocks the sword down to the ground with a parry and says that Gawain's never going to beat him. As he then knocks Gawain into the air with a ferocious hit, as she then plummets and falls to the ground. Pellegarde begins to more or less lecture, saying that she might be a knight of the apocalypse and she has limitless potential with her abilities, but her abilities haven't caught up to her. She's still an amateur, and even mocks her by saying, "You're perfect? Don't make me laugh. You haven't mastered the excess amount of power that you wield. You're letting it throw you around instead. You're basically letting your power control you instead of you controlling your power." If Gawain had fought anyone besides Pellegarde, she would be dead right now, and is really telling her to admit her shortcomings and train if she wants to have a long life. Gawain is frustrated and bangs the ground, but the last page of the chapter is Gawain bawling out crying as the chapter ends. So chapter 64 of the Four Knights of the Apocalypse, titled Those Seeking Revenge, starts off directly after last week with Gawain just bawling her eyes out, crying like a sniveling baby, and Percival and Tristan are just like looking at each other wondering what to do, while Pellegarde's literally trying to lecture her, saying, "Thinking that you're on the top of the world proves just how much of a novice you are. Admitting your defeat is the first step towards growing," as Gawain just pelts him with a rock. And I like how she's literally just flailing around like a baby, like she's literally just got her favorite toy taken away. As she keeps saying she's strong, she hasn't lost, she's invincible, as Pellegarde is literally trying to get her to calm down, and that there's no shame in losing. And I like how Percival just teasing him, saying like, "Wow, a way to make a girl cry." And I like how Pellegarde's like, "How the hell is this my fault?" Anyway, Pellegarde ends up deciding to take his leave, but Elspeth questions Tristan on whether or not he wants to fight him next. But Tristan says, "I'll let you go for now. You're injured and I have no pride in battling an injured man." But he did save Percival, so he'll let him off the hook for now until they face each other next time, as this is a show of Tristan's very own chivalry. And I like the serious look on Tristan's face, as I do believe that the next time they meet, Tristan will take him seriously and will fight him with all his might. As we do remember in chapter 61, when the knights assembled, Tristan had his demon and goddess eyes ready for battle, so I can't wait to see him actually take actual charge and do this, which is something really cool. Anyway, Pellegarde summons his shield and he takes his leave, saying that he'll make Percival's apprentice someday. But as he's flying off away, he realizes that the pain is dissipating, and turns out Percival snuck on one of his little golems to heal his wound, much to Pellegarde's kind of surprise. But anyway, Gawain continues to scream and shout and bawl her eyes out over her loss, saying how it's not fair, she can never get taken down, if he didn't counter her she would have won, yada yada yada. And Percival's not even making it any better. He's saying losing once or twice isn't any big deal, as she just smacks Percival away, stating that her grandmother and her grandfather, Granny and Gramps, I don't know who they are. Could have something to do with perhaps Arthur and Merlin, because remember, she does kind of look like Merlin the more we look at her, so perhaps she's related to Merlin in some manner. That's something to look into. Though I do like how Tristan was kind of like signaling to Percival to just shut up, as he was going to handle it. And as he goes up to Gawain, he goes up and kind of cheers her up, saying that she's right, she was just off her game today, there's no way that she lost, and that she's the strongest, and stuff like that, and to get up and to head back to Leonis. As just like that, Gawain regains her bravado and just acts like all this never happened, and is beginning to head straight, wants to just go back to Leonis with everybody else. And I like how Percival just trying to be like the honest one in this whole conversation and just being blunt as all hell, and Tristan's just telling him to shut up so he doesn't cause any more problems. And Percival ended up coming to the conclusion that we all just did. How did Tristan manage to get someone like her to follow him to Leonis? And I guess just praising her enough was just enough to get her to just follow him and take her to Leonis. So it makes a lot of sense. Tristan knows how to handle her. So that's honestly something that I do kind of appreciate. So I feel like this is going to play a role in any future battles and scenarios, as this will add an extra layer of conflict to the group things. Anyway, they still have like a little minor squabble, and it is revealed that all 4 of the knights are 16 years old in this one chapter. Gawain's going to be 16, Tristan and Lancelot are the same age anyway, so all 4 are 16, just as, I know it was kind of like, we'd think it anyway, due to how it's been 16 years since the end of the 7 Deadly Sins, but it's nice to have that little extra bit of confirmation. We jump back to inside Leonis with Lancelot and the rest of Percival's crew as he tells them that Pell Guard is leaving, and it seems that they managed to fight him off. But then Lancelot notices something, and apparently it's some sort of presence that honestly was hidden because of Pell Guard's flashy magical attacks, and when he realizes it, he dashes away. He dashes off and tells the group to wait for Tristan and Percival to come back, and that he's going to the castle. So it's obvious Lancelot managed to read somebody's mind and sense someone's presence, and that was enough to get him worried. We then cut to these 2 hooded figures. I don't remember, but I believe these hooded figures were shown entering Leonis the same time as Pellegarde and even Guinevere back in chapter 50-51, around that time when we were getting that prophecy of the 4 knights assembling. So it is basically confirmed that Pellegarde was basically a red herring, and that these are the true assassins of chaos. I did not notice the hooded figures. I originally thought it was like Pellegarde and maybe Guinevere at some point. I completely forgot about these hooded figures, in all honesty. Now these are coming back, and I'm like, oh crap, these people are actually here. How could I forget this? But anyway, these hooded figures are surrounded by a bunch of knights as they're trying to actually, like, confirm who they are and see what's going on with them. The 2 hooded figures begin to have a conversation, and that there are more holy knights. One hooded figure tells the other that there are far from the only holy knights in Leonis that are currently surrounding them, and that it won't be easy. The other hooded figure says, "What's a human like you talking about? Do you even know where what we want is located?" As it says that, yes, they know Leonis better than anyone in Camelot, and they have to get the job done now. So the dark hooded figure lunges away and heads towards the castle, as the hooded figure left behind ends up saying that the knights there will be dealing with them, referring to more than one person, as they bring out a head made out of stone. This looks familiar. This looks like Gawain of the 10 Commandments. You get the confirmation of whose head this is, but this person ends up chanting some kind of incantation, asking Chaos to bring forth the souls from purgatory, so that they can have the revenge on the ones that taken them, and it's confirmed that they were once called the 10 Commandments, as a light shines forth from the sky, hits the stone head, as it then shatters from the stone. We get to see the helmet, we get to see the armor, and it begins to regenerate as it's cackling. And I have to say, this depiction is honestly really cool. As this being is beginning to regenerate, he then creates a large fist and just smashes one of the knights into the ground, folding it in like a pancake, as we then get the reveal who these people are. And that's the thing, before we get the whole reveal, we cut to Hendrickson as he is reacting to this. He senses their presence, saying that it's been 16 years since he's felt this power, and it doesn't make any sense because he thought that the sins defeated all of them. As we then cut to the final 2 pages, as they are introduced, Chaos Melascula and Chaos Gawain, servants of chaos, with the final page showing the 2 of them in their new forms, just stating that they have power given to them by King Arthur, and now they're going to kill the 7 deadly sins and the 4 knights of the apocalypse, ending the chapter.